use. Okay, Ram Bisman also found that in his paper of RCT. So let me come back to that. So as already people have already talked about the, as you know, that electricity consumption, greenhouse gas emission has direct relationship, and also the energy consumption, also economic development has also direct relationship. You can't say okay, we will not consume the electricity, we will not consume the energy. Okay, it has a direct relationship with the economic growth. So question is that since it contributes to the greenhouse gas emission, how we can reduce the energy use at the household level. Ultimately, what will happen? The greenhouse gas emission also be reduced in the future. Okay, so given that if we look at the world level, basically more than half of the demand met through the fossil fuel, which is the major source of the greenhouse gas emission. And anyway, we have already promised in the different COP meetings that okay, we'll shift to our energy transition pathway. That okay, we'll shift to the renewable sources this much amount in the future. Some people are talking about this pessimistic approach. Some people are believing that okay, this is optimistic approach. I'm not going there. But the question is here that so since the given the technology is there, most of the people are not adopting those technologies. There's energy efficiency gap. So why the energy efficiency gap occurs? Because of the implicity discount rate. As I told you, the implicity discount rate is basically a trade-off between the future savings and upfront cost. Because you have to pay the upfront cost to buy the high energy efficient technologies. Okay, how much extra you pay and how much energy you save in the down the line, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, then you make a trade-off. Okay, so trade-off between that, then you see that okay, what happens here? Then let me skip some of my presentation. So let me tell you where basically they basically choose whether implicit discount rate is higher than the rate of interest, the people's preferences, because most of the studies conducted in the developed world, because I have done some survey, so it is basically higher than the rate of interest in the market rate of interest, so that basically people used to invest in the less energy efficient technologies, and that's why we have the energy efficiency gap. So I'll come to the technology part of it. So let me give us small examples of the price and incentives that economics theory suggests that okay, incentives can change. Okay, let me tell you, there's a paper in the I think American Economic Review. I think I have another 2-3 minutes. 1 minute. Okay, I'll okay 2 minutes I'll take. Okay, maximum. You take your time. Okay, so so what happens? There is a study in the Mexico. So around 1.9 million households. Basically, it's a World Bank study. 1.9 million households are offered to replace their old refrigerator and AC with a new efficient refrigerator and AC. 1.9 million households by the World Bank. They basically, before doing that program, they basically calculate all the cost benefit analysis. They found that, okay, suppose this is the cost giving them the efficient air conditioner, the refrigerator, what is the benefit saving of the electricity? They calculate the cost benefit analysis, they find that, okay, benefit is higher than cost. So now can you tell me that whether the people save energy? No. They found that the guys who are basically using AC, basically they're using more electricity because earlier they're running for their AC, air conditioner for 4 hours or 5 hours. Now they got efficient AC and air conditioner. They're using it for 8 hours and 9 hours. So they're almost using the same amount of electricity or more than that. Okay. And the refrigerator also similar. They found that okay, there's not much change because earlier also they're using 24 hours refrigerator. Now they can use only 24 hours. So not much change in the electricity consumption, but in case of refrigerator, there's a more electricity consumption. So it is kind of there's a rebound effect. And similarly also, so I have less time. Let me go to. So I have already explained to you about the Uh, India study about that. Okay, so what is the major problem that when people make the decisions, there's inattention bias. Okay, because when you go to buy some product in the market, you immediately look at that. Okay, how much extra price you have to pay, but you're not looking at okay how much extra amount of energy you're saving. Because when you buy the air conditioner refrigerator, the only thing that is provided to you, if you look at the basically the advertisement, the basically air conditioner refrigerator, how much unit you consume. okay, per year. That's only information is provided to you. So you're not able to calculate, okay, that, okay, how much I'm saving. Suppose those information could have been provided to you. Okay, suppose those information that are okay, how much you're going to save. Suppose you buy this, okay, this much additional cost you're going to do, but that down the line 5 years or 10 years, you are going to save this much amount of money. So with that information could have been provided to you, so that could have been changed. Sometimes people believe on the status quo bias. They want to stay what they basically purchased last time. So because when I asked the people in Bangalore as the Bhubaneswar, so the guys who are having the 3-star AC and refrigerator, I asked them, okay, do you like to buy 5-star? No, I'm fine with 3-star. And suppose I buy in future, maybe down the line 2 years or 3 years, suppose I go for another AC or refrigerator, I'll buy 3-star. Okay, I don't want to go to 5-star. Okay, because of many reasons. So they want to stay in the status quo. Okay, so now I can stop because I don't want to take more time. Hopefully, I have make some sense about the household energy conservation.
Thank you so much, sir. This was a very nice talk, and in such pain, he has delivered it. So we are very thankful to you, sir. And from his information, at least we can start, make a first step for sustainability by 5 stars. So that we can take away from his message. Further, I'm going to introduce Dr. Vladimir. He's a biologist from the Federal University of Valle do São Francisco, Unifas, in Petrolina, Brazil. Currently, he is working in the field of taxonomy and ecology of filamentous cyanobacteria and conservation practices in mountain regions of northeastern Brazil. He coordinates and integrates various local committees working on sustainable development initiatives and university extension projects and programs related to sustainable practices, agroforestry, systems, environmental and scientific education, organic production, and coexistence in the semi arid region of Brazil. He is a reviewer and translator to 3 scientific journals, and he's feel happy to have a fourth that is on Throsavia, which is a peer-reviewed biological science journal. He is the founder and director of president for 2 years of Preserve JR, a non-profit environmental organization that has more than 70 active members from 4 nationalities working on the development of sustainable development services. And this is something which is needed here in this Youth 20. Currently work at recently established Foreign Relation Department of Univas, whose main goal is to solidify partnership and academic and scientific bonds between UNICEF and foreign universities around the world. Today, he is going to talk about conciliating development and sustainability. We welcome you, sir, and we invite you for your talk.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and thank you for your patience. Well, dear audience, authorities present here, professors, staff, and students of the Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, and special guests. It's indeed a lovely sight to be in a room filled with uh, minds of all ages, especially the youth, and address issues of paramount importance for the future of the planet and mankind. Well, my name is Vladimir. I'm a biologist and a social activist from Brazil, also working alongside with colleagues from other countries in Latin America on the issue of sustainable development, conservation of biodiversity, recovery of degraded areas, and ethnobiology. Well, I would like to say it's a great honor being in India, especially here in Amarkantak. And even though it was a very long trip with 3 days of traveling, and carrying a lot of luggage, I have to admit that the moment I left the airport, I simply fell in love with the country, its people, the culture, the ways. So when I go back to Brazil, certainly a part of my heart will stay here. Also, I cannot stop noticing that even being so distant from each other, Brazil and India share so many similarities, either by the territorial length of the two countries, or the amazing and welcoming peoples, the common challenges both countries find as developing nations, or the important role the two nations have as emerging powers in the worldwide fight against climate change. It is also a special honor to be here at the IGNTU, a young university located in the heart of India, meant to serve the tribal populations of the country. Similarly, my own university, the Federal University of Vale do São Francisco, it's also very young. It's only 20 years old. And its purpose is also similar to that of the IGNTU, to reach and provide opportunities to populations deep in the heart of Brazil. In our case, especially for native populations and the children of small farmers and fishermen. Well, we are living a critical moment for our species and for the planet. Never in our history have we been faced with such great challenges as the ones we actually caused, expressed in the change in climate and related disasters. The enormous volume of disposable plastic thrown out into nature, the excessive and unsustainable lifestyle of humanity, our dependence on fossil fuels, and other unsustainable actions have had their toll and are now coming back to haunt us. However, the impacts of climate change and disasters are not felt evenly around the world. Instead, it is mostly poor and developing nations which feel these impacts first and foremost, whereas rich and developed nations can handle such situations in a significantly less traumatic way. However, even in the midst of such a situation, some people sadly would prefer to ignore the situation and maybe hide from climate change and temperature increases by turning on the air conditioner. That is a solution that cannot work. Also, even in some places where the climate is still not a problem and plentiful resources do exist, uneven access to them promotes inequality and contributes to increasing poverty. In that regard, the Portuguese language, we speak Portuguese in Brazil, the Portuguese language has two similar words that illustrate how that situation applies. The first word is cerca, which translates as fence. And the second word is seca, which translates as drought. In Brazil, it is usually said that the problem of the semi-arid region of Brazil, where I come from, is not the seca, but the cerca, not drought, but the fence. Since, as long as the fences of large monoculture farms exist and dominate the use of natural resources, including water, smallholder and family farmers will not have sufficient access to grow their own crops. So, what can we do to change this scenario of inequality and unsustainability? Is there a map to guide us in the path towards sustainability? There actually is. This map was provided by the United Nations 2030 Agenda that established the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Sustainability, as you know, refers to the need of using natural resources in such a way that it does not compromise the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In that regard, the UN 2030 Agenda has stated that the eradication of poverty is indispensable for sustainable development. That is, sustainable development requires a continuous effort on three different fronts: economic, social, and environmental. The future cannot be sustainable if the world is filled with poverty, hunger, lack of opportunities, and little cooperation. In this effort, the cooperation between nations is essential if we wish to succeed. Both the support of rich nations to developing ones and the leadership of developing nations in the process are of paramount importance. However, developing nations do not simply want to be helped. And I speak as someone from a developing nation myself, as is the case of Brazil. Instead, developing nations want to be active part of the fight against climate change. And I can see a perfect example of that here in India. The level of concern for the problems of climate change shown by India demonstrates that this country will not simply stand by and wait for others to take action. India clearly shows that it wants and it is perfectly able to lead. Furthermore, I strongly believe that society must be encouraged to absorb and practice sustainability as a way of life, with a special attention to tribal and traditional communities whose ancient knowledge about how to coexist in balance with nature can highlight the way for sustainable development. Sustainability is no longer, as, as was said before, is no longer a distant idea restricted to academic discussions. It is now an urgent requirement. If we want to save ourselves and our descendants from catastrophe, each and everyone must be encouraged to take action, either at the individual level, small communities, cities, or countries. Cooperation actually gets things done. Let us everywhere cherish this planet for what it really is, a sacred entity. Therefore, let us be, in fact, priests of sustainability. Finally, I would also like to address the very theme of this discussion, green energy, but from a different perspective. And that is the need to conciliate the implementation of new and sustainable sources of green energy with the respect for nature and traditional and tribal populations. And why do I say that? Because in many places, and most certainly in Brazil, a lot of sustainable infrastructure was built while ignoring both nature and the population. That was the case, for example, back in Brazil with hydroelectric power, a very predominant source in the Brazilian energy matrix. And now it is happening with wind energy. Both these enterprises, although they're green energy sources and good for the environment, and in the case of wind power, very widespread and promoted in recent days. However, they cause enormous environmental and social impacts where they are implemented, which is favored by weak regulations that are often overruled in favor of financial growth. Brazil is second only to China and the US in wind energy generation, counting on almost 900 wind parks. There's a lot of wind towers in Brazil, most of them in the northeast region where I come from. However, the way how wind parks are being set up in Brazil today is not much different from the way how the big hydroelectric plants were built in the past in Brazil, especially in the 1970s. In the 1970s, Brazil built what was then the largest hydroelectric dam in the world. It had a lake, an artificial lake that was 400 kilometers long. It was sufficient to supply water to the whole country. It was not needed then, but it was done. And the way how that was done, even involving forced people displacement, expropriations, and environmental disaster, was just traumatic for the region. Progress cannot be achieved by ignoring those who are far from the centers of power. Let us acknowledge and value the contributions that all sectors of society can provide in this joint fight that faces us all. The decisions we make now have the potential to either save us from catastrophe or to consolidate it. The choice is ours. The path to sustainability is simple, actually, and requires attention to 5 major issues: people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for such a diverse lecture, and we will remember the 5P, and we have to follow that 5P. Thank you so much. Further, in this session, next I'm going to introduce Miss Daria. She's from Russia, an ICCR scholar who is currently studying at University of Delhi to become a computer scientist while also working on a degree in artificial intelligence and data analyst at Moscow University. A member of Russian local volunteering organization which has taken multiple actions to educate the community on sustainable consumption. a regular person who has implemented environmental friendly practices in their life and is now willing to share experience with others, since ordinary person can change the world as she thinks. A representative of the youth whom aim is to show that we as the young people do care, and to highlight that environmental issues go beyond one country or one generation. Such a beautiful idea. I welcome Ms. Daria to share her views. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be able to speak on the stage and to be among all these respected panelists. I believe that all of us have been enjoying this event so far, even though it's quite tiring. It's definitely very useful and, and insightful for all of us. So I would like to start my speech with once again thanking all the people who took part in the organizing this of or in the organization part of this event, and who have made every single effort to ensure that we as young people have this fantastic platform to speak, to disseminate the ideas, and to brainstorm. Frankly speaking, it might look like I'm not the one who is supposed to be here. I haven't conducted any breakthrough research in the field of sustainable development. I haven't created some kind of device that can make sustainable technology more available for everyone. And yet, I was invited here to speak as a representative of the youth. And I want to say that we do care, that we realize that it's time to take actions, and as it has been mentioned, that it goes beyond one generation, one field of activity, etc. In fact, as the saying goes, the time to take most actions was 10 years ago, and it's especially relevant when it comes to this concern. But we cannot turn back the clock, and the only approach right now is to just leave it behind and look at it from a different angle. A couple of years from now, we might have a couple of years of sustainable growth to mm, be proud of, or a couple of years of excuses why we did not and why we could not. So, coming back to the topic of our panel discussion, um, there is no denying and saying that the concern about the environment and about the state of planet is growing among people. There are multiple research that demonstrated, and that's why people start seeking solutions, and that's how terms like green energy become a part of our daily discussions. I also want to stress that young people are particularly vulnerable, and there are multiple surveys that demonstrate it. The one, just for the sake of an example, I want to elaborate on was conducted by the UK eco-grocery startup Modern Milkman. They had like about 1,000 respondents from 12 to 17 years old, so those were children, and 71% of those expressed the concerns about the state of the environment, and they mentioned rising temperature, plastic pollution, and the state of animals as their prime concerns. And one can say that these are all talks and no actions. It's very reasonable to expect it from a generation of flakes, but I want to say that we can see the light at the end of a tunnel. The same survey shows that 85% of children believe that it's personal actions that can make the difference. In fact, that it's in our arms to change the future. So I started with calling myself an ordinary person, and I even put myself down saying that I'm not one who is supposed to be here. But let's admit, most of us are ordinary people, and thus we should talk about something that we as general public can do, and how can we apply sustainable technology and green energy in our daily life. I gave it a thought, and I even asked several friends of mine, several people of my circle of communication, what do they think about terms like green energy and sustainable technology. Most of them said that they found it important, but at the same time, it was absolutely eye-opening in a way that I realized that many people put these terms under the category of complicated matters, and these things are often laid out as problems for think tanks and governments to tackle. Yet, there are many common things that general person can do and consequently create some kind of snowball effect to influence people around them. The heart of a problem is people often fail to find those simple steps, but that's the point of discussing renewable energy and bring like renewable energy and sustainable technology if we cannot implement it in our daily life. So that's why I decided to elaborate more on some things that me and my family have done during the couple of years to implement those things in our daily life. So first of all, many of us have garden and security lighting. And not many people know that a wide range of solar energy lanterns are available on the market. Those are very affordable, and it's just one thing that pretty much everyone can do, buy those and implement that green solar energy in their daily life. Another way of using green energy, energy that we have done is to use solar panels to charge the batteries. So it just requires to install a controller. It's also very affordable. And after that, like the batteries can be charged from the solar panels. So the solar energy is used for that. Another thing that we think about implementing is a solar water heater. It might be problematic considering the climate and the insufficient amount of sunshine. However, here I think one can make an even better application of that. Also, we sold our car a couple of years ago and started using public transport, actually electric public transport permanently. To be more precise, these are trolley buses and trams. I understand that it's a privilege in a way, and not everyone can do that. Yet, everyone can minimize the usage of private transport, look in the direction of electric transport. There are a lot of interesting startups in that field, and I expect the market to keep growing. Actually, it's again in the hands of general public to help the market of electric transport growing. And at the end, I want to add that everyone can just come back home and check their bulbs. Make sure it was LED lamps, LED bulbs. They are they have a less carbon footprint, and it's very easy. It might be a first step to step into greener future. So these are just several simple things that we have done, and I want to say that this journey was absolutely enjoyable. I would like to highlight once again, it's crucial to respect all the researchers and scientists who are working on the cutting edge of scientific and technological progress. At the same time, we should never underestimate the impact that an average person can make and blindly believe that all these issues will be resolved at the higher level. In fact, I think everyone here is open to share their views, their opinion, and I guess we have to make the most out of these events, take the ideas back home, and disseminate them among our friends, our colleagues, our co-workers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Daria. I think her feeling is we have to follow the sustainable technologies, whatever the methods we are understanding here organically. So she has a very uh, good conscious about it. I am very thankful for her here in this session. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Kunal Tilak, a lawyer and a public policy enthusiast. Mr. Kunal Tilak currently serves as the track chair of the climate change theme in Y20 India. An alumnus of University of Glasgow, is an urban farming enthusiast and co-founder as an urban farming startup. Kunal Tilak is the fourth direct descendant of Lokmanya Tilak. He is one of the youngest delegate to represent India as an official observer to the United States presidential election. Kunal is a and has completed his LLM from the University of Strathclyde, Glasgow. We are so honored to you be here, sir, and I welcome you at this juncture to deliver your lecture. And I'm so happy that youths are coming back to farming. They are making their startups, they are making their own companies, they are being an entrepreneur, they are giving jobs to the persons, they are giving jobs to our youth. Just do a job or give a job. That is your that is your way of thinking, and you are doing such a good job that you are giving job. Thank you so much, and I invite you for your talk.
Namaste. First of all, ma'am, I would like to say that I'm extremely honored and privileged to be able to speak here at the Indira Gandhi National Tribal University and especially at Amarkantak, a place which I have heard about for so many years from my family, a place, the land of Ma Narmada, where the Vindhyas and the Satpuras come together, and the place which we all call our Tirtha Kshetra. So it is really an honor once again, and I really want to thank the management team of Indira Gandhi National Tribal University for organizing this wonderful Y20 consultation here at Amarkantak. In the inaugural session, the EVBP National General Secretary Yagyavalkya Shukla ji spoke about and explained about why exactly this session, this Y20 consultation is happening at Amarkantak, and being the track chair for this year's Y20 for the climate change and disaster risk reduction theme, it makes me very happy to speak here in front of all of you. I realize there are many students here as well today who are still here after the post-lunch session. So I really would like to start by mentioning someone mentioned in one of the inaugural sessions that they referred to one of the Japanese delegates who spoke about in one of the sessions during our pre-summit in Leh. We had a pre-summit in the end of April in Leh, and I was chairing the session for the climate change, and one of the Japanese delegates stood up and said that what happens in India should not stay in India, and that was he was referring to climate change. So that made me go think about why exactly did he say that, what was going in his mind, what exactly are we doing that he thinks that what is India doing, it should not stay in India, it should go towards the world. The crux of this is basically that India is right now the pioneer, the world leading nation when it comes to mitigating climate, leading its citizens towards a sustainable way of life, leading its citizens towards adopting and adapting in a low carbon economy. So what have we done exactly? What has India done? And I would like to throw some light on what has India done exactly rather than what should be done, because it is also very necessary for everyone to know what India has done over the last few years in the field of climate change and disaster risk reduction. And I really feel that the youths today, those who are present in this Y20 consultation, they should go and tell the world that what India has been achieving, unprecedented feats of achievements in the field of climate change. And the youths are not the leaders of tomorrow. We all, I feel, are the leaders of today. And it is our sole responsibility to ensure that we act towards climate change, towards just and equitable climate justice, and ensure that the youths of tomorrow have a chance to live a better life. In COP26, Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave to the world the idea of Panchamrit. So you must have heard the word Panchamrit since the introductory session. So who all exactly knows what Panchamrit is? Can anybody tell me what exactly Panchamrit is from the audience? Can anybody tell me? Students? So Panchamrit is basically India's aim to generate 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel energy by 2030, to reduce our carbon emissions by 1 billion metric tons, to generate 50% of our energy from renewable sources, to reduce India's carbon intensity by 43% by 2030, and obviously to achieve net zero by 2070. So what are we doing in order to achieve this Panchamrit model? Does anybody know what are we doing? We have initiated the green hydrogen mission, which aims to produce green hydrogen, 5 million metric tons of green hydrogen in the next 5 years in order to offset the 50 million metric tons of carbon emissions that we Indians generate every year. We are instrumental in establishing the International Solar Alliance in 2015, which aims to bring together funding, climate finance for solar related projects, for solar farms, and to ensure each and every Indian household is equipped with solar net metering, which basically sir spoke about reducing energy bills, household bills, which is a very, very instrumental aspect in reducing solar net metering, in reducing household bills. We have established the Mission Life project along with the Atal Rejuvenation Mission, which aims to transform Indian cities towards a low carbon economy, which aims to transform every Indian's lifestyle to transition to a low carbon economy, to adapt certain measures which we are needed to take in order to transition to a low carbon economy. And we need to really think about in the future about how, as simple things as how we are going to transit to work from our households and from work to our households again. It's a very, very important thing and very, very small things that each one of us can contribute. And I would like to give a very simple example that is often overlooked and that doctor spoke of and even Daria mentioned, which every one of you in the audience can relate to today. But not many of you would have thought about it, which will make you rethink about how India has gone about its way in leading its citizens to a sustainable way of life. Can anyone tell me what I am talking about, the thing that I am talking about that Dr. mentioned and Daria also spoke about in her speech right now? Can anyone? It's the humble LED bulb. In 2015, Prime Minister Narendra Modi launched the Ujala scheme to provide affordable LED bulbs to each and every Indian citizen. It led to the Ujala mission becoming the world's largest non-subsidized mission, which distributed LED bulbs, which replaced the old mercury bulbs that we used to have in our households. And I remember I was in my college it was around 2014, 2015, I think. And my father was excited to introduce the new LED bulb into our household, saying that it goes on for a year or 2 years. He was very excited. आज LED bulb लगाना है घर पे, बोले mercury bulb निकालना है, LED bulb लगाना है. Many of you would have experienced this as well. Very simple thing. Your father changing the LED bulb in your household. That led to a massive decrease in energy consumption bills over the years. And I'm very happy to say, and this is one of the greatest achievements of India over the last few years. In 2015, when the Ujala mission was launched, the price of a single LED bulb was 330 rupees. 330 rupees. And today, the price of a single LED bulb is 39 rupees. Can you imagine? We can get LED bulbs at such an affordable rate that each and every Indian household is today equipped with LED bulbs, which leads to lower energy bills for each household, which leads to micro level contribution of each and every Indian citizen towards leading a sustainable way of life, towards contributing towards a low carbon economy. And when it comes to carbon, I'd like to finish off my speech with a small case study that I've been touring all over India giving speeches since I'm the track chair for Y20. And in each of my speech, I've been giving this case study to each and every, to all the audience members who are present. So what is one of the easiest methods, or what is the most common method to adopt greener energies or to accelerate the rise and use of greener energies? In simple words, it is to increase the price of carbon. So what is it exactly? What do I mean when I say increase the price of carbon? Have you heard about carbon credits? Anybody, have you heard about carbon credits so far? So carbon credits is a financial tool. So one carbon credit gives you basically, in simple words, the right to emit 1 metric ton of carbon emissions. It's a financial tool which many companies are thinking of using right now. And I'll give you a simple example. Sir, have you ever ordered food from Zomato? If you order a food of 100 rupees, have you ever seen that Zomato gives you an option to pay 4 rupees more, in which they mention to lead a sustainable order? Your order will come to you in a sustainable way. So what exactly is Zomato doing here? What are they using the 4 rupees for? They're using some of the money of the 4 rupees. They're taking money from us so that they can buy carbon credits, so that they can give us our order in time. We need our order in time, obviously. The delivery guy needs to hop on his bike, fill in the petrol if he wants, and come to our house in less than 30 minutes. So basically, they are charging 4 rupees for every 100 rupees to buy some of the money of that to buy carbon credits, which they will maybe eventually sell to the government, to some private companies. In the Western world, there's already a industry set up for carbon credits. And so the the case study that I wanted to give you today is, can any one of you think of an application like Paytm, like Google Pay, which can, where we can exchange carbon credits? If sir has the same application, I have the same application, and I want some carbon credits, sir can just enter his UPI code and send me the carbon credits. That will help increase the price of carbon. In short, that will create an economy for carbon. That will, in short, ensure that corporates, through their corporate social responsibility, increase their budget for corporate social responsibility, and fund more and more climate related projects, fund more and more sustainability related projects. Basic companies get from that. If they fund more and more sustainability projects, they'll get carbon credits. And since there will already be a established economy for carbon credits, more and more companies, more and more individuals will come forward to ensure that they contribute at least something towards climate change, so that they can claim at least 1 carbon credit in their life, which they can sell at a higher rate to one of their friends, to family, or to someone random, I don't know. So this is one of the case studies that I always give when I go to Y20 speeches. And think over it, students, those who are interested in startups, technology, and if you can develop an application, develop a business case, business proposal for this, please make sure that you go towards the proper sources, you go towards the proper channels. It is going to be one of the biggest industries in the next 10-15 years. Think about it. And of course, when you do that, do not forget to give me equity in your company. Thank you so much. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Kunal sir. It was such a crystal clear demonstration about the policies which are undergoing from the government. What I think, I was listening you and I was thinking, might be we can generate carbon credits by the plantation. If a person can plant 100 plant, he will get 1 carbon credit. And that can generate lots of plantation throughout the planet. And we have a sustainable approach. It's something which we have to think, and then manifest. So we are very happy to hear you. This is such a diverse team here sitting on the dais. and we were listening from biology to policy. Now, our last speaker, I don't know, this Amarkantak soil has something great. The energy which I was watching in him from morning, he's from the organizing committee, continuously he was working, and suddenly he came and said, I'm also giving this presentation here. You are my moderator. Okay, okay. I said, okay, thanks. So his coordinator is also so energetic, and he's also so energetic. I welcome Dr. Vikram Pratap Singh from the Department of Geology of this particular university, a great university. He has completed his PhD from University of Delhi in geology. His specialization is on past climate and past ocean circulation patterns. Today his talk will be on forcing factors of the climate and geological history. In his CV, lots of things are there, and all the Amarkantak persons will have known all these things, but I will read some of the things. He has been selected as foraminifer microplanetologist for IODP South China Sea Rifted Margin Expedition 367 aboard Joyde's Resolution. He has visited many countries where he has completed his some research work and lots of award on his name. I welcome the energetic Mr. Dr. Vikram Pratap Singh for his deliberation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I'd like to thank my own university, Professor B. Tripathi sir, and my peers and colleagues for providing me with this opportunity. And also, big thank to the panelists on the dais about the ideas they gave us. I believe we are basically talking about technology and green energy in this session, but me being a geologist, let me show you some of the past. We are talking about present and the future, but let us see the past in a bit of the slides and then we can discuss on it furthermore. So, given my specialization and my understanding about the climate, I would like to talk about the forcing factors of climate and the geological history and what do they tell us. When we talk about the components of the climate system, so we have a climate system with lithosphere, biosphere, cryosphere, atmosphere, and hydrosphere. We all are aware of that. But how much are these components being impacted by the factors that control the climate? Once we talk about the forcing factors, because climate of the earth is a non-linear chaotic system, so whenever somebody says that one particular factor is responsible, I am in a bit of doubt whether should I believe it or not, because there are two main factors. The first main factor is the external forcing. On the top, if you can see there, there are two important external forcing factors. First one is of course the solar radiation, and second one is the Earth's orbital parameters. We all know that the Earth rotates around, it goes around the sun, revolves around the sun, and in the process it shows us three kind of orbital parameters. One, it goes around the sun in an elliptical orbit, which goes from getting more elliptical to lesser elliptical. Furthermore, we all know that the earth is tilted, and that tilt, the angular tilt of the earth, keeps on changing, and then the precision of the earth. So these are the main orbital parameters along with the solar insolation that control the climate. And if we talk about the internal forcing factors, by internal forcing I mean the earth. So there are four major internal forcing factors. The first one is plate tectonics, which you can see on the left. In the previous session, we had Mr. Ranjan who took the name of the terms like Gondwana and the Archean Earth. So we know that the present configuration of the Earth was not same as always. So the present configuration of the Earth has taken almost 4.5 billion years to reach what it is today, and the Earth's climate was stabilized last 6 million years back, to be very particular. So the diagram on the left, you can see here how it has changed from the beginning to the present, leading to the opening and closing of the ocean gateways, leading to the generation of the ocean currents and also the deep ocean circulation. So the plate tectonics is one of the major factors that has controlled the climate of the earth. Secondly, we have the deep ocean circulation pattern, not only the surface currents, but mind you, it is also the deep ocean that impact a major control on the climate of the earth. So we have the latitudinal distribution of the heat, which is transported by this deep ocean currents. Then feedback forcings, is it really that warming will always lead to warming, or can it happen that the greenhouse impact can lead us to the global cooling? That is also the feedback mechanism. Can we have a positive feedback, or is it taking us to a negative feedback? And then the last one, which everyone talks about, is the greenhouse forcings. So we know that the greenhouse gases, they are important because they have helped our climate to get stabilized, but they are today they are posing a threat to the humanity on the earth. So where is this global warming actually happening? So if we look at the amount of carbon dioxide and heat which is being absorbed, so atmosphere hardly 2.3%, continents 2.1%, glaciers and ice cap owing to their reflectivity that we call as albedo is 0.9%, Arctic sea ice 0.9%, Greenland ice sheet 0.9%, Antarctic ice sheet 0.9%. But what is the major chunk? The oceans. So my specialization being paleoceanography, I am an ardent follower of the oceans, stating here without any doubt that the oceans are the modifiers of global climate. So, along with the places we live on the earth, we need to check the problems we are creating for our oceans. The water having its higher specific heat capacity, the oceans have the ability to absorb huge amount of these carbon dioxide and other parameters. But how long are we going to pump them into the oceans? So we have to take care of this also, that rather than simply talking about deforestation or talking about the continental pollution, we should also focus more on the oceans, because oceans, they are like our forgiving organs, like our lungs. Somebody goes on, keeps on smoking for years, and the lungs keep on absorbing that. Oceans are the same way things. So if we look at the forcing periodicities, the forcing periodicity is that the climate system periodicity, in case we have an abrupt, means let us imagine a swing. A child is sitting on the swing and his father is pushing the swing every now and then, we know the result. But if there is something which is non-linear, then what will happen? If something which is non-linear, then we will have someone like cool tempered boss who is more dangerous. You commit some mistake, he smiles. You commit some mistake, again he smiles, and suddenly one day without anything he fires you. But if you have a boss who is short tempered, you do some mistake, he shouts on you and his anger is vented out. But remember, oceans are like cool tempered bosses. If they come to something that breaks their patience, then I am sorry, but we will not stand a chance. So other than that, we have to take care what we are going through. And in the geological history, if you look at the lower curve, you see that the gradual curve, it represents cooling, and warming was very abrupt, that we call as terminations. So in the geological history of climate, we have gradual cooling, abrupt warming, which means that the warming events took very less time to come and go, but the cooling events, they took a long and sustained for a longer time. So what should we be more worried about, global warming or global cooling? That's a question I'd like to put forward to you all. So if we look at this cube as the forcing factors and that red ball as the climate, and that is V, what we get the result is the climate, but we don't know which forcing factor has actually dominated. So just saying that the release of greenhouse gases is changing the climate is too actually early to comment on that, as per my perception is. So which forcing factor dominates, that we need to check, and we should not accelerate the forcing factors which are in our control. The forcing factors beyond our control, we cannot do anything about it. So coming to the last one, what is the definition of normal? We say the sea levels are rising, but if you look at this curve on the left, this is the uh, Miller's curve of eustatic sea level. If you look at the geological past, during the Cretaceous times, the sea levels were quite high than what we see today. And according to this sea level, we are actually going towards a sea level fall. So is it really that we are getting the sea level rise or sea level fall? It's again a question. So what my perception is that, say we talk about disasters like floods, but if we are going to make our houses and hotels on floodplains and the rivers get flooded, which is an absolutely natural phenomena, are we not going to be affected? So rather than checking about, getting worried about the floods, should we not get worried about checking our building activities on the floodplains? Should we not check our activities near the coastal regions rather than talking about the sea level rise? Because that's bound to happen. Then you look at the three top curves, and those are the history of the Earth. On the leftmost is the Paleozoic Earth, then we have the Ice Age Earth, and then the current. If you look at the third curve, you will see that there is a continuous rise of CO2 related to rise in the temperature. But if you look at the first two curves, there are certain places where the CO2 was much higher, but the temperature was showing a declining trend. In geology, we have a principle of uniformitarianism, which says present is the key to the past. And if I translate it, it is no vestiges of a beginning, no prospects of an end. So we can always have the trends localized. And therefore, if you look at the atmospheric temperature and the sea surface temperature over there, are they similar for all the latitudes? No. They are distributed according to the latitudes of the Earth. So this is the Earth, the elephant, and we are the humans, which is the ant. And if an ant is asked to write the biography of an elephant, is this lifetime enough for it? I don't think so. So, therefore, my perception will be that sometimes exaggerations are really important. But this is not all what we get from the climate. We have seen such uh, illustrations and cartoons where we take the earth in our hands and we are trying to save it. Can we really do it? I don't think so. Rather than focusing on the exaggerations, we should rather focus on the mitigation of the effects. Like everyone was talking about the green energy, but green energy also has its own cost. Everything about talking about the carbon footprint. Did you know that Carboniferous was one of the periods in the Earth's history where there were huge forests, but once they got buried, the whole carbon burial was there, still the climate was warm. Himalayas, once they rose, they brought down the CO2, the same Himalayas which help us to get protected from the Siberian cold winds. Once they rose, they brought global cooling. So these are the factors which we need to look at it. And once we talk about the sustainable practices, yes, I would like to make a humble opinion that as ants, we really cannot write the biography of an elephant. Just one thing we can do, that the things which can come in our control, polluting our resources, overusing them, over exploitation, can be checked by the sustainable practices. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Vikram. It's a second face you can see of a mirror. We were talking about climate change, deforestation, afforestation, many more things, but we have never talked about this ocean. अब जब भी ओशन के पास जाएंगे तो विक्रम जी को जरूर याद करेंगे कि इस ओशन के लिए भी बहुत कुछ करना है. We have to do many more things for the ocean, for their whatever in perspective of geological features. So thank you very much. This was a very nice team, and we have very nice 5 lectures. And I'm thankful to this organization, this organizing committee, and the coordinator of this conference for organizing such a diverse and such a interdisciplinary lectures at the same pace. What I felt today, I want to share 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, because I know everyone is very tired, but I just want to share 2 minutes. Today we have learned from laboratory to law. Then we have learned from policy to society. So sustainability is not only a scientific term. Wherever you can feel, it is in every subject. It is in physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, sociology, humanity, whatever you can feel, everywhere is sustainability. So it is the responsibility of a single person, and that we have to take care. We have to generate a belongingness. We have to think that this is our thing, our portion. We have to save. And second is the responsibility. Once we will feel the responsibility, then only we can do anything. We have to train our kids because they are just developing. If they will be trained like this, that you have to switch off the lights, that you have to close the taps, that and a person who is going to purchase something, that have to take care, that you have to purchase, you have to think about the 5 star if you are purchasing something. So these are the small things which a person in their daily life can take and can take care for the, and that is their role for the sustainability. For these, by these words, I will end here, and I will thanks all the audience. They are very good and they are very patient. Thank you very much.
Actually, it's good to okay, it's good to have solar energy because if you look at the Indian market, so it's so costly that given the income of average household in India, it will be difficult for them to implement a solar energy. Okay, but let me tell you, in some cases like water market, they are being provided solar pump, mostly in the Rajasthan. I've not done any study, but I've read one study. They found that those guys are getting electricity for few hours. They run their pump set for that. Apart from that, if you give them solar pump, so they'll run more hours. Okay, it has some negative impact in case of water market. But if you look at energy consumption, I think it has positive impact. But given the cost of solar energy, okay, so it will be difficult for the average Indians to buy.
Uh, I would call the dignitaries to the stage to felicitate the panel here.
Thank you very much for this critical session. All of you are requested to assemble here for the cultural evening at 7 p.m. So please attention. So session is over. All of you are requested to please assemble it at this place for cultural evening. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You फरमा रहे हैं। अरे हमें भी सुन
you.